I paid $9,500 for my granddaughter's Sweet 16. A week later, my daughter-in-law texted, "She doesn't want old people ruining it, you're uninvited." So the night before the party, I canceled everything. When my son called the 50th time, I finally picked up and said, "You raised her to be ashamed of family." Michael, congratulations. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Now, you might think I'm just some bitter old woman, but let me tell you how we got here. Because this story starts 6 months ago when my granddaughter Emma casually mentioned she wanted the most epic Sweet 16 ever. At 67, I've learned to spot manipulation from a mile away. But when it comes from your own blood, wearing braces and batting those Williams family blue eyes, well, even tough old birds like me can get our hearts twisted around little fingers. "Grammy Dot," Emma had said, curling up next to me on my living room couch. "All my friends are having these amazing parties. Madison's parents rented out the entire country club. Sophia's having a winter wonderland theme with real snow machines." I should have seen it coming when Emily, my daughter-in-law, suddenly appeared from the kitchen carrying tea she'd never offered to make before. "Emma, don't bother your grandmother with party talk," Emily said sweetly, setting down cups with the kind of careful precision that screamed calculation. But Emma pressed on. "I just want something special, something that shows how much our family means to each other." The way she said family made my chest tight. After my husband Robert died 2 years ago, these moments with Emma had become everything to me. Michael was always busy with work, and Emily, well, Emily tolerated me at best. "What did you have in mind, sweetheart?" I asked, already knowing I'd moved from observer to participant in whatever game was being played. Emma's eyes lit up. "Well, there's this venue called Riverside Gardens. They do these incredible themed parties. The space rental is $8,000, but Grammy, imagine dancing under fairy lights by the river." 8,000. I felt Emily's sharp gaze on me, waiting. "And then there's catering," Emma continued. "Giuseppe's does these amazing Italian spreads. Everyone says they're the best." "How much would all this cost?" I asked carefully. Emma bit her lip. "Maybe 20,000? I know it sounds like a lot, but Grammy, this is my Sweet 16. It only happens once." $20,000. My Social Security and Robert's pension were comfortable, but 20,000 was serious money. Still, looking at Emma's hopeful face, I felt myself wavering. "Let me think about it," I said. That's when Emily made her move. "Dorothy, that's so generous of you to even consider it. I told Emma she was dreaming too big, but you've always been the kind of grandmother who makes dreams come true." The flattery was thick as molasses, but something in her tone bothered me. There was an edge underneath the sweetness, like she was reading from a script. 3 days later, Emma called crying. "Madison's mom said I can't compete with her party if I'm having some backyard barbecue. Grammy, please, I'll be humiliated." That night, I wrote the first check. Now, before you judge me too harshly for falling for the oldest trick in the book, let me paint you a picture of my family dynamics, or what I thought they were. Michael is my only child. When his father left us when he was 12, it was just Mike and me against the world. I worked double shifts at the hospital, scraped together college tuition, and watched him grow into a man I was proud of. He became an engineer, married Emily when he was 35, and gave me the granddaughter I'd always dreamed of having. Emily Patterson Williams came from money, old Chicago money, the kind that comes with trust funds and summer houses in Michigan. When Michael first brought her home 7 years ago, she was polite enough, but I always felt like I was being evaluated rather than welcomed. "She's just particular," Michael would say whenever I mentioned feeling uncomfortable around Emily. Give her time. 7 years later, I was still being given time. But Emma was different. From the moment she was born, she was mine as much as theirs. While Emily focused on her interior design business and Michael worked 60-hour weeks, I was the one teaching Emma to bake cookies, taking her to museums, listening to her middle school drama, or so I thought. After I wrote that first check for the venue, the requests started flowing. Designer decorations from some boutique in Lincoln Park, a DJ who apparently spun for celebrity parties, a photographer who charged more per hour than I used to make in a week. "Grammy, everyone will be taking pictures," Emma explained during one of our shopping trips. "The photographer makes all the difference. Look at Madison's photos from her party. She showed me pictures on her phone of a party that looked more like a movie premiere than a teenager's birthday celebration. These are beautiful, sweetheart. But, Grammy, I know it's expensive, but think about it. These pictures will be forever. When I'm old like you, I'll show them to my grandchildren. Old like me. The phrase stung more than it should have. Each time I hesitated, Emily would appear with just the right comment. Dorothy, you know how teenage girls are. Image is everything at this age. We want Emma to feel confident and proud. By month 3, I'd written checks totaling $15,000. By month 5, we were at $19,000. And through it all, I felt this growing unease that I couldn't quite name. Something about the way Emily's eyes gleamed when I pulled out my checkbook. Something about how Emma's requests always came with detailed price quotes already researched. Something about how neither of them ever asked if I could actually afford all this. But they were family, and family supports each other, right? The final straw should have been when Emily suggested I also cover Emma's dress shopping trip to some boutique in downtown Chicago. The dress is really the centerpiece of the whole event, Emily said, already pulling up the boutique's website. Emma found this perfect gown, but it's $2,500. $2,500 for a dress a 16-year-old would wear once. That seems excessive, I said carefully. Grammy, Emma's voice took on that wounded tone I'd learned to dread. This is my special day. I wrote the check. The morning after, I sat in my kitchen looking at my bank balance, wondering when exactly I'd lost control of this situation, and more importantly, why I felt like a stranger in my own family. The text message arrived on a Tuesday morning while I was having coffee and reviewing the final party details. $19,500 later, everything was set for Emma's Sweet 16 on Saturday. The message was from Emily. Hi, Dorothy. Emma has been thinking, and she's realized she wants her party to be more of a young person's event. She doesn't want older family members there because it might make her friends uncomfortable. Hope you understand. The family will celebrate separately with you another time. I read it twice. Sure, I'd misunderstood something. Older family members. Like I was some ancient relic who might embarrass the precious princess at her party that I'd just funded to the tune of nearly $20,000. I called Michael immediately. Mom, hey, what's up? His voice had that distracted quality that meant he was probably checking emails while talking to me. Michael, Emily just uninvited me to Emma's party. Silence. Then, what do you mean uninvited? I read him the text message word for word. Another pause. Mom, I'm sure there's been some misunderstanding. Emily wouldn't. She would, and she did. Michael, I've paid for everything. The venue, the catering, the decorations, the photographer, nearly $20,000. $20,000? His voice sharpened. Mom, I had no idea it was that much. Emily told me you wanted to contribute. Contribute. As if I'd offered to bring a casserole to a potluck. Michael, I need you to handle this with your wife. Of course. Let me talk to Emily and Emma. I'm sure we can work this out. But deep down, I already knew we couldn't. You don't accidentally send a message that cruel. You don't casually uninvite the person who's paying for the entire event unless you never wanted them there in the first place. That afternoon, I did something I probably should have done months ago. I started making phone calls. First, I called Riverside Gardens. Mrs. Williams, the event coordinator said warmly. Everything's all set for Saturday. The final payment cleared this morning. About that, I said. I need to know about your cancellation policy. There was a pause. Well, for events this close to the date, we typically require full payment. However, if there's a genuine emergency. Next, I called Giuseppe's Catering. Mrs. Williams, we're so excited for Emma's party. The Italian spread is going to be magnificent. What would happen if I needed to cancel? The caterer's voice became cautious. Cancel? Ma'am, the event is in 4 days. We've already purchased the ingredients, assigned staff. Then I called the DJ, the photographer, the florist. Each conversation followed the same pattern. Yes, everything was confirmed. Yes, they'd been paid in full. And yes, canceling now would be complicated and expensive. But here's the thing about being 67 years old and having survived a husband's death, decades of working in healthcare, and raising a son as a single mother. You learn that sometimes the most expensive option is still the right option. By 5 o'clock, I had a complete understanding of exactly what I was dealing with. And more importantly, I had a plan. Emma called that evening, her voice artificially bright. "Grammy, are you so excited for Saturday? I can't wait for you to see how everything turns out." "Are you excited for me to see it, Emma? Because your mother seems to think I won't be attending." Her voice faltered. "Oh, that. Grammy, don't be upset. It's just, my friends think family parties are kind of, lame." "I see. And who paid for this party that's too lame for family?" Silence. "Emma, answer me." "You did, Grammy, but you wanted to do something special for me." "I wanted to celebrate with you, sweetheart." "There's a difference." More silence. "Emma, let me ask you something. If I hadn't paid for any of this, would you still want me there?" The longest pause yet. When she finally answered, her voice was small. "Grammy, that's not fair." But it was fair. It was the only fair question in this entire mess. Wednesday brought reinforcements in the form of Michael arriving at my house unannounced, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. "Mom, we need to talk." I let him in but didn't offer coffee. This wasn't a social visit. "Emily explained everything," he began before he'd even sat down. "Emma's going through a phase. You know how teenage girls are about appearances." "Do I? Enlighten me, Michael. Tell me about this phase where accepting nearly $20,000 from your grandmother and then uninviting her is considered normal teenage behavior." He ran his hands through his hair, a gesture I remembered from his difficult teenage years. "Apparently, some things never change." "It's not about the money, Mom, isn't it? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks exactly like it's about the money. Emily and Emma got what they wanted, and now they're discarding the inconvenient old lady who provided it." "That's not—" "Oh, Mom, you're being dramatic." Dramatic. The word every woman hears when she dares to point out being treated badly. "Michael, let me ask you something, and I want you to really think before you answer. If your daughter is embarrassed by her own grandmother, what does that say about how you and Emily have raised her?" His face flushed. "That's not fair. What's not fair is teaching a child that love comes with a price tag and that family members are disposable once they've served their purpose." I walked to my desk and pulled out a folder I'd prepared the night before. Inside were copies of every check I'd written, every receipt, every invoice related to Emma's party. $19,537, I said, spreading the papers across my coffee table. "That's what your daughter's embarrassment of me cost." Michael looked at the documents, his face growing paler with each page. "Jesus, Mom, I had no idea." "Your wife did. Emily knew exactly how much I was spending because she helped Emma ask for most of it." I watched understanding dawn in his eyes. Michael might be conflict avoidant, but he wasn't stupid. "She orchestrated this whole thing, didn't she?" he said quietly. "What do you think?" He sank back into my couch, looking defeated. "What do you want me to do?" "I want you to be a father. I want you to explain to your daughter that actions have consequences. And I want you to have a serious conversation with your wife about respect. And if I do that, you'll—" "What? Forgive and forget?" I smiled, but there wasn't much warmth in it. "Oh, Michael, I'm afraid it's a little late for that." "What do you mean?" "I mean I've already made some phone calls. Turns out, when you pay for something in full, you have certain authorities." His face went white. "Mom, what did you do?" "Nothing yet. But I have until tomorrow night to make some final decisions about Saturday's event." "You wouldn't." "Wouldn't what?" "Exercise my right to cancel services I've paid for? Decide not to fund a party I'm not welcome to attend?" Michael stood up abruptly. "Mom, you can't punish Emma because you're angry at Emily." "I'm not punishing anyone, sweetheart. I'm simply applying the same logic Emma and Emily used. If I'm too embarrassing to attend the party, I'm probably too embarrassing to pay for it too. But all her friends are expecting. Are they? Or are they expecting a party funded by the grandmother who's apparently so shameful she can't be seen in public?" Michael started pacing, another old habit from his teenage years. "Mom, please, just come to the party. We'll work everything else out later." "Michael, do you hear yourself? You're asking me to pay $20,000 for the privilege of being tolerated by my own family." He stopped pacing and looked at me with something that might have been respect mixed with fear. "What would it take? For you to let the party happen?" I considered this carefully. Not because I was planning to negotiate, but because I wanted Michael to understand exactly what his wife and daughter had cost our family. It would take Emma calling me herself, not texting, calling, and apologizing genuinely for treating me like an ATM with legs. It would take Emily acknowledging what she's done and taking responsibility. And it would take you, Michael, promising me that this kind of manipulation will never happen again. That seems reasonable, does it? Then make it happen. He left, promising to fix everything. But I'd already decided that some things couldn't be fixed. Thursday passed without a single phone call. Friday morning brought a group text message to me, Michael, and Emily. Can't wait for tomorrow. Going to be the best day ever. Love you all. From Emma, as if nothing had happened, as if the past week of hurt and manipulation could be erased with heart emojis. I responded to the group text, to the, "Have a wonderful time, sweetheart." Emily immediately texted me privately. Dorothy, thank you for understanding. We'll make sure to take lots of pictures for you. Pictures. She wanted me to be grateful for pictures of the party I'd funded, but wasn't welcome to attend. At noon, Michael called. Mom, Emma's really excited. Maybe we could just let this whole thing slide. You know how teenage girls can be. How can they be, Michael? Well, emotional, dramatic. They don't always think things through. And what about 38-year-old women married to my son? Are they also emotional and dramatic and exempt from thinking things through? Silence. Michael, has Emma called to apologize? She's been really busy with party preparations. That's not what I asked. No, she hasn't called. Has Emily acknowledged what she's done? Another pause. Mom, Emily feels like you're making this into a bigger deal than it needs to be. I see. So Emily's position is that taking nearly $20,000 from me and then uninviting me is, what? A minor social hiccup? She didn't mean it the way it sounded. How did she mean it, Michael? He couldn't answer that, because we both knew exactly how Emily had meant it. At 3 o'clock Friday afternoon, I made my final decision. I started with Riverside Gardens. Mrs. Williams, how can I help you? I need to cancel tomorrow's event. The silence was deafening. Then, ma'am, the event is tomorrow. All the preparations are complete. I understand this is unusual. I'm willing to pay whatever penalties are necessary. But, the Williams Suite 16? Everything's ready. The staff is scheduled. The event is canceled. Please remove all decorations and notify your staff. Next, Giuseppe's Catering. Mrs. Williams, surely you don't mean... I absolutely mean it. Cancel the catering order. But we've prepared everything. The ingredients alone. I'll pay whatever penalties are required. Cancel it. The DJ, the photographer, the florist. Each call was the same. Shock, disbelief, then grudging acceptance when they realized I was serious. By 5 o'clock, Emma's perfect Sweet 16 existed only in her imagination. At 7:30, my phone started ringing. Michael's name on the caller ID. I let it ring, and ring, and ring. 53 times, according to my call log. Finally, at nearly midnight, I answered. Hello, Michael. Mom, what did you do? His voice was hoarse from screaming, probably at Emily, possibly at Emma, definitely into the void of his own poor life choices. I made some business decisions about services I had paid for. Business decisions? Mom, Emma's party is tomorrow. Is it? How interesting. I wasn't invited, so I wasn't really keeping track. You can't. Mom, you can't do this to her. And that's when I said the words that felt like 30 years of frustration finally finding their voice. Michael, you and Emily taught Emma that I'm too embarrassing to include in her celebration. I'm just agreeing with you. The silence that followed my words lasted long enough for me to wonder if the call had dropped. Then Michael's voice came back, smaller now, almost childlike. Mom, please. Emma's devastated. All her friends were coming. She's been talking about this for months. Has she now? And in all that talking, did she ever mention how grateful she was to her grandmother for making it possible? She's just a kid, Mom. She's 16, Michael. At 16, I was working after school to help support my family. At 16, you were volunteering at the animal shelter every weekend. At 16, a person is old enough to understand gratitude and respect. I could hear Emily's voice in the background, sharp and angry, though I couldn't make out the words. Emily wants to talk to you, Michael said. I'm sure she does. The phone rustled as it changed hands. Dorothy. Emily's voice was arctic. I don't know what kind of game you think you're playing, but you're hurting an innocent child. Am I? Because this innocent child seemed perfectly comfortable hurting her innocent grandmother. Emma never meant to hurt you. She was just trying to avoid an awkward situation with her friends. What exactly would have been awkward about her grandmother attending her party? Emily? Well, you know how it is. Different generations, different interests. The kids would have felt like they had to behave differently with adults around. Adults? You mean the adult who paid for the entire party? That's not… Dorothy, you offered to help with the party. No one forced you. Here it was. The lie I'd been waiting for Emily to tell. Did I offer, Emily? Or did Emma and you ask me repeatedly for money while researching exactly what everything would cost? I don't know what you're implying. I'm not implying anything. I'm stating directly that you and Emma manipulated me into paying for a party you never intended for me to attend. That's ridiculous. Is it? Tell me, Emily, when exactly were you planning to uninvite me? Before the first check I wrote, or after you'd gotten everything you needed? The silence told me everything. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. Tomorrow, instead of hosting a party she can't afford at a venue she doesn't deserve with food she didn't pay for, Emma is going to learn something valuable about consequences, and you, Emily, are going to learn something about respect. You can't just destroy a child's special day because your feelings were hurt. Watch me. I hung up. The phone immediately started ringing again. I turned it off. Saturday morning arrived gray and drizzly, which seemed fitting. I made coffee, scrambled eggs, and sat on my back porch watching the neighbor's cat hunt through my garden. Peaceful, quiet, exactly the opposite of what would have been happening at Riverside Gardens about now. My doorbell rang at 9:30. Through the peephole, I could see Emma standing on my front step, still in her pajamas, her eyes red from crying. I opened the door. Grammy? Her voice was small, broken. Please, my friends. They're all expecting… Everyone knows about the party. Looking at her, I felt a sharp pang of something that might have been regret. This was still my granddaughter. This was still the little girl who used to beg me to read just one more bedtime story. But she was also the young woman who had looked me in the eye and asked for thousands of dollars while planning to exclude me from the celebration. Emma, can you tell me why you thought it was acceptable to take money from someone you were planning to uninvite? Her face crumpled. I didn't. Mom said, Grammy, I never meant for this to happen. What did you mean to happen? I wanted a perfect party like everyone else has. And you thought a perfect party couldn't include your grandmother. No. Yes? She was crying now. The kind of crying that comes when someone realizes they've made a terrible mistake. Grammy, my friends would have thought it was weird. Would they? Or would you have been embarrassed of me? The truth was in her face before she could form words to deny it. Oh, sweetheart, I said softly, what kind of person are you becoming? That's when she broke completely, sobbing on my doorstep like the child she still was in so many ways. And that's when I realized something that changed everything about what I thought I was doing. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. I stood looking at Emma sobbing on my doorstep, and for a moment, my resolve almost cracked. Almost. Then I remembered the casual cruelty in that text message, the entitled assumption that I'd fund my own exclusion. Come inside, sweetheart. She followed me to the kitchen, where I poured her orange juice and set out tissues. Amazing how we return to childhood comforts in moments of crisis. Grammy, please, can't you just unfix everything? Fix what exactly? The party. Call everyone back. Tell them it was a mistake. I sat across from her at my small kitchen table. Emma, do you understand what you and your mother did to me? We hurt your feelings, and I'm sorry. I really am. This goes deeper than hurt feelings, sweetheart. You taught me something about how you see me, about how I fit into your life. She wiped her nose with a tissue. That's not, I love you. Grammy, do you? Or do you love what I can do for you? The question hung between us like a challenge. That's not fair. Emma, when's the last time you called me just to talk? Not to ask for something. Not because your parents made you, but because you wanted to hear my voice? She opened her mouth, then closed it. When's the last time you asked about my life? How I'm doing since Grandpa Robert died? Whether I'm lonely? What I do with my days? Her face was flushing now, the kind of red that comes with uncomfortable self-awareness. Grammy? I'm busy with school and friends and… I know you are. But Emma, relationships aren't one-way streets. For 6 months, you and your mother have treated me like a bank account with legs. Mom said you wanted to help. I did want to help. But I also wanted to be part of your celebration. I wanted to watch you blow out candles and dance with your friends. I wanted to take pictures and embarrass you by crying because my granddaughter was growing up so beautifully. Emma's tears started fresh. Grammy, I didn't think. No, you didn't. You thought about what you wanted and how to get it. You didn't think about how it would feel to be discarded once I'd served my purpose. I can fix this. I'll tell everyone the party's back on. I'll tell Mom she was wrong. Emma, the vendors have been canceled. The deposits are lost. But more importantly, something between us broke this week, and it can't be fixed with apologies. What do you mean? I reached across the table and took her hand. I mean, you need to decide who you want to be. Sweetheart, the kind of person who uses people, or the kind who values them. I do value you. Then prove it. Before she could ask how, my doorbell rang again. Through the peephole, Emily, looking like she'd dressed in a hurricane. I opened the door. Where is she? Emily demanded, pushing past me. Emma, get in the car, now. Mom, I'm talking to Grammy. You're manipulating your grandmother, just like she manipulated us. I actually laughed. I'm sorry, what did I manipulate you into doing, Emily? You made us think you wanted to help with the party. I did want to help. I also wanted to attend. That was never discussed. Because you never intended to include me. Emma looked between us, understanding dawning in her face. Mom, Emma said slowly, did you always plan to uninvite Grammy? Emily's pause was answer enough. Emily's face went through several expressions before settling on defensive anger. Emma, you said you wanted a party just for your friends. I said I wanted a cool party. I never said Grammy couldn't come. You said you'd be embarrassed if it felt too much like a family gathering. I said I wanted it to feel special. That doesn't mean Grammy couldn't be there. I watched this exchange with fascination. Emily was cornered now, caught between her lies to Emma and her lies to me. Emily, I said quietly, were you planning to uninvite me from the beginning? Of course not. It was just… Emma changed her mind about what she wanted. Emma stood up abruptly. Mom, stop lying. Emma, don't be dramatic. I'm not being dramatic. You told me weeks ago that Grammy would probably feel out of place with all my friends there. You said it would be better if we celebrated with family separately. Emily's face went white. You convinced me it would be awkward for everyone, Emma continued, her voice growing stronger. But you never said anything about Grammy paying for everything. Emma, your grandmother offered. She offered because you and I asked her to. Over and over again. I felt a surge of something that might have been pride. Emma was finally seeing the manipulation clearly. And now all my friends know about the party, and nothing's happening, and everyone's going to think I'm a liar, Emma continued, tears starting again. Sweetheart, I said gently, what do you think matters more? What your friends think, or what kind of person you're becoming? I don't know, she wailed. I just wanted a perfect party. Emma, Emily said sharply, stop making this bigger than it is. Your grandmother is being vindictive because her feelings got hurt. That word. Vindictive. As if standing up for myself was somehow wrong. Emily, let me ask you something. If I hadn't paid for this party, would Emma have been upset about not having it? That's not the point. It's exactly the point. You created a situation where Emma felt entitled to something she couldn't afford, then excluded the person who made it possible. We were going to include you in other ways. What other ways? Emily faltered. Pictures, stories about the party. Ah, so I could pay for the privilege of hearing about the fun I wasn't allowed to have. Emma was staring at her mother with something that looked like horror. Mom, that's awful. Emma, you don't understand adult relationships. I understand that Grammy paid $20,000 for something she wasn't allowed to attend. Emily's composure was cracking. Your grandmother has plenty of money. It's not like this was a hardship for her. That stopped me cold. Excuse me? Well, Robert left you very comfortable. It's not like you have anything else to spend money on. The audacity was breathtaking. In Emily's mind, my money wasn't really mine because I didn't have the right kind of expenses. Emily, Whether I can afford something doesn't give you the right to take advantage of me. No one took advantage. Mom. Yes, you did. Emma's voice was steady now. We totally took advantage of Grammy. Emily turned on her daughter. Emma, we are leaving. Now. No. The word hung in the air like a gauntlet thrown down. What did you say? I said no, Mom. I want to talk to Grammy. Emma, get in the car this instant. Or what? You'll ground me? Cancel my party? I almost smiled at that. Emma already canceled it. Emily whirled on me. You think you're so clever, don't you? I think I finally understand what I'm dealing with. You're dealing with a family that loved you enough to include you in something special. Include me? Emily, you uninvited me via text message. That was just exactly what you intended. Emily grabbed Emma's arm. We're going home, now. Let go of me, Mom. Emma, don't make you what? Treat me like you treated Grammy? That comparison hit Emily like a slap. Her grip loosened. That's completely different. How? Emily couldn't answer, probably because she was finally realizing how her behavior looked through her daughter's eyes. Emma, I said, your mother and I need to have a conversation. Why don't you go upstairs? There are books in my bedroom if you want something to read. After Emma left, Emily and I faced each other in my kitchen like gunfighters at high noon. You've turned my daughter against me. I've shown your daughter who you really are. Who am I, Dorothy? Please enlighten me. You're someone who thinks other people exist to serve your purposes. You saw my money and my loneliness after Robert died, and you decided both could be useful to you. That's not true, isn't it? Tell me, Emily, before you needed money for this party, how often did you call me? How often did you invite me over just because? She couldn't answer. You know what I think? I think you've always resented that Michael loves me. You've always felt like you had to compete with his mother for his attention. That's ridiculous. Is it? You've spent 7 years trying to minimize my role in his life. You schedule family events when you know I have other commitments. You make plans without checking with me first. You've systematically excluded me from your lives except when you needed something. Emily's face was flushed now. You're paranoid. Am I? When's the last time you invited me to dinner without wanting something? Silence. When's the last time you asked Michael to call me just because? More silence. When's the last time you encouraged Emma to spend time with me without an agenda? Dorothy, you're reading too much into normal family dynamics. Normal? Emily, in normal families, grandmothers are treasured, not tolerated. We treasure you. You treasure my bank account. Emma's voice came from the stairway. Mom, Grammy's right. We both turned. Emma was sitting on the stairs, having obviously been listening. Emma? No, Mom. Let me talk. Emma came back into the kitchen. Grammy, I found something upstairs. She was holding a photo album I kept on my nightstand. Pictures of Robert and me, of Michael growing up, of Emma as a baby and little girl. Look at this picture, Mom. She showed us a photo from Emma's 8th birthday. In it, I was kneeling beside Emma, helping her blow out candles. Emily stood in the background, checking her phone. And this one, another photo, Emma's school play 2 years ago. I was in the front row, clapping enthusiastically. Emily was visible in the back, talking to another parent. And this one, Emma's middle school graduation. I had my arm around Emma, both of us beaming. Emily was turned away, talking to someone else. I never noticed before, Emma said quietly. But Grammy, you're in all my important moments. And Mom, you're there, but you're not really there. Emily's face was crumbling. Emma, that's not... I was there for all those things. Physically? Yes, but Grammy was present. There's a difference. The wisdom in my 16-year-old granddaughter's words took my breath away. And I treated her like she didn't matter, Emma continued, tears starting again. I let you convince me that having her at my party would be embarrassing. Emma? No. Mom, I need to say this. Emma turned to me. Grammy, I am so sorry, not just for the party, for everything, for taking you for granted, for not seeing how much you love me, for letting Mom make you feel unwelcome. Sweetheart, I want to be different. I want to be the kind of person who deserves a grandmother like you. And that's when my heart completely broke open. 3 weeks later, I was sitting in my lawyer's office, reviewing documents I never thought I'd need. "Are you certain about this, Dorothy?" Marcus asked, his gray eyebrows raised with concern. "I'm certain. Because once we file this—" "Marcus, I'm 77 years old. My husband is gone. My son apparently learned nothing from the party debacle. And my daughter-in-law just proved she's exactly who I thought she was." The party cancellation had been just the beginning. In the aftermath, Emily had launched a campaign of emotional manipulation that would have impressed a political strategist. First came the guilt. Phone calls about how I'd traumatized Emma. Text messages about Emma crying herself to sleep. Voicemails about the lasting psychological damage I'd caused a child. Then came the threats. Emily had suggested that perhaps my decision-making capabilities weren't what they used to be. Perhaps Michael needed to become more involved in my financial affairs. Perhaps I needed help managing my money. The final straw came when I discovered Emily had called my bank, claiming to be my daughter-in-law concerned about unusual account activity. She'd actually tried to get information about my finances. "Mrs. Patterson-Williams," the bank manager had told me when I called to complain. We didn't provide any information, of course, but she was quite persistent. She seemed to think she had some right to access your accounts. That's when I called Marcus. "The trust structure you're proposing is quite complex," Marcus said now, reviewing the papers. "Are you sure you don't want to discuss this with Michael first?" Michael had 3 weeks to have an adult conversation with his wife about boundaries and respect. Instead, Emily has doubled down on her behavior. What exactly happened? I pulled out my phone and showed him the text messages. From Emily: "Dorothy, we need to talk about your increasing isolation and erratic behavior. Michael is concerned." From Emily: "Your vindictive response to a simple misunderstanding suggests some concerning changes in your personality." From Emily: "We think it might be time to consider whether you should be making major financial decisions alone." Marcus whistled low. "She's questioning your mental competency? She's setting up a narrative where I'm the unstable old woman who needs her family to protect her from herself." And Michael is caught in the middle, trying to keep everyone happy, which means he's effectively enabling Emily's behavior. Marcus set down the documents. "Dorothy, what you're proposing will protect your assets, but it will also create significant family conflict. The family conflict already exists. I'm just refusing to pretend it doesn't. Walk me through this one more time." I took a deep breath. "The trust gets everything. The house, the investments, Robert's life insurance money, all of it. Emma gets an education fund that Emily can't touch. Michael gets a modest inheritance when I die, but only if he's maintained a respectful relationship with me. And if he hasn't, his portion goes to charity. That's a powerful incentive for good behavior. It's also a test. If Michael chooses Emily's manipulation over his mother's well-being, then he's not the son I raised, and he doesn't deserve Robert's legacy." Marcus nodded slowly. "And the immediate changes? My house gets transferred to the trust tomorrow. All my accounts get restructured. Emily will wake up Monday morning to discover that her financial access to me has been completely eliminated. She's going to be furious. She's going to be exactly what she's always been. The only difference is now she won't be able to hide behind fake concern and manipulation." "And Emma?" I smiled for the first time in weeks. "Emma has been calling me every day since the party incident. Real calls, about school, about friends, about whether she should try out for the debate team. She's also started asking about Robert, about what he was like, about our life together. That's wonderful. She's becoming the person I always knew she could be. Sometimes people need to see the consequences of their choices before they can change." Marcus gathered the papers. "I'll have everything ready by Monday." "Good. Dorothy, once this is done, there's no going back." "Marcus, I haven't been truly happy in my own family for years. They've made me feel like a burden, an obligation, an inconvenient reminder of their duty. The only person who treats me like I matter is my granddaughter, and she had to learn that by watching me stand up for myself. And if Michael chooses Emily over rebuilding his relationship with you, then I'll know where I stand, and I can stop pretending otherwise." That night, Emma called. "Grammy, are you really going to change your will? Word travels fast in families. How did you hear about that?" "Mom was screaming about it to Dad. Something about financial manipulation and you losing your mind. What do you think?" "Sweetheart, I think Mom's scared because she can't control you anymore." 6 months after the Sweet 16 that never happened, Emma graduated from high school as valedictorian. I sat in the front row, crying proud tears as she delivered a speech about courage, integrity, and the people who love us enough to hold us accountable. After the ceremony, she found me in the crowd. "Grammy, there's something I want to tell you." "What's that, sweetheart?" "I've been thinking about that day when you canceled the party. At first I was angry and hurt and embarrassed. I know you were. But then I realized something. You loved me enough to let me be angry with you if it meant teaching me something important." I felt tears starting again. "What did you learn?" "I learned that real love isn't about giving people what they want. It's about helping them become who they're supposed to be." My remarkable granddaughter had understood something it had taken me 67 years to figure out. I also learned that you can't treat people badly and expect them to keep accepting it just because you're family. That's a hard lesson. It is. But Mom needed to learn it too. I looked around the graduation reception. Michael was talking to other parents, looking proud and happy. Emily stood nearby, but she wasn't engaging with the group. In fact, she'd barely spoken to me beyond polite greetings. The trust had done exactly what I'd intended. It removed Emily's financial motivation for maintaining a relationship with me, and in doing so, revealed that she'd never wanted one in the first place. "Grammy, can I ask you something?" "Anything. Do you ever regret what you did?" I thought about this carefully. I regret that it was necessary. I regret that your mother and I couldn't find a way to respect each other, but I don't regret standing up for myself. Dad says you've changed. Have I? You're stronger now. More yourself, if that makes sense. It made perfect sense. For years, I'd been shrinking myself to fit into their version of who I should be. Convenient, undemanding, grateful for whatever scraps of attention they threw my way. Emma, I want to tell you something important. You never have to accept being treated badly, not by friends, not by romantic partners, not even by family. Love doesn't require you to tolerate disrespect. Is that why you changed your will? To protect yourself? I changed my will to protect what your grandfather and I built together. I changed it to ensure that the people who benefit from our life's work are people who value what we valued. And if Dad doesn't, then he'll have made his choice, and I'll have made mine. Emma hugged me then, fierce and tight. Grammy, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you too, sweetheart. As we stood there in the crowded reception hall, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years, complete peace with my decisions. The party that never happened had cost me $19,500, but it had bought me something priceless. The knowledge that I was worth more than convenience, more than obligation, more than the role others wanted me to play. 6 months later, Emma started college with a full scholarship and a trust fund that would cover anything the scholarship didn't. Michael and I had coffee once a week, slowly rebuilding our relationship on terms that respected both of us. Emily and I maintained polite distance. And me? I learned that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to enable someone else's worst impulses, even when that someone is family, even when it costs everything you thought you wanted, even when it means canceling the party. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and feel free to share your story in the comments. Your voice matters.